A man named Kibum is accused of committing especially brutal crimes. He took the lives of 6 people, but the court managed to prove only one of the murders. And so Kibum was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The jury is horrified. This sentence is too short for such a cruel criminal. People lunge at Kibum with their fists. A 7-year-old girl named Hee-ju witnesses the whole scene. 3 months earlier, Detective Na Mil-hee was sent out on yet another assignment. His task was to arrest Kibum, but the criminal wounded him, and the detective bled to death. That man was the father of little Hee-ju. When 2 fellow officers came to visit Na Mil-hee to wish him a happy birthday, they found the man lifeless. The devastated Hee-ju was sitting next to her father's body. After the trial, a detective named Dae-young takes the little girl into his home and raises her as his own daughter. 15 years pass. Kibum is released from prison. Detective Dae-young is waiting for him at the prison gates. He warns Kibum that he'll be keeping a close eye on him, and the moment he finds proof of his crimes, he'll send him right back behind bars. Hee-ju has grown into a beautiful young woman. She devotes herself to music and is now a skilled violinist. Hee-ju hasn't forgotten about her father and is determined to take revenge for what happened to him. She joins the police force and begins working alongside Detective Dae-young. Everyone at the station adores the girl, calling her the team's good luck charm. They look after her and constantly treat her to delicious food. Dae-young orders his team to place Kibum under 24-hour surveillance. They're not so eager to do it, but still obey their boss and head out on the assignment. During the day, Kibum sits on a park bench, trying to track down a man named Jung Min-soo. In the evening, he relaxes in the company of a woman who offers her services for money. Suddenly, the man becomes aggressive and pulls a plastic bag over her head. However, Kibum doesn't take the girl's life. She walks out of his hotel room and gets into a car with her employer. The man steps outside to relieve himself when a shady figure appears next to him. The stranger relieves himself on the pimp's shoes and then suddenly slashes him with a sharp knife. The poor man collapses, and the attacker calmly washes the red stains off the blade. He gets into the car with the same woman who was with Kibum earlier and strangles her with an umbrella. All this time, Hee-ju has been near the hotel, watching everything closely. Now she knows there are 2 killers. Hee-ju has spent years planning her revenge on Kibum, but the appearance of the second maniac came as a great surprise. The next morning, Detective Dae-young arrives at the crime scene. It turns out his team had been so careless that they didn't notice anything suspicious. Dae-young arrests Kibum, but surveillance footage confirms that the man never left the hotel the night before, which means the police have no evidence against him and are forced to let him go. As Kibum walks out of the station, he bumps into Hee-ju, who happens to be in his way. The girl falls, and he offers her his hand. Kibum glances at her name tag and then walks away. Hee-ju furiously scrubs her hands in the bathroom. The thought of touching the man she hates so deeply fills her with disgust. Later that night, we see a man abusing his wife. Hee-ju intently watches this scene from a rooftop across the street. When the man steps outside, she knocks him out with a precise blow and then picks up a heavy stone from the ground. Well, that's her own way of fighting for justice. Kibum notices the police officers following him, or rather sleeping soundly in their car instead of keeping watch. He laughs at them and heads out for his morning run. During his jog, Kibum spots a crowd gathered around a body. It's the very same man who was punished for domestic violence by Hee-ju. Kibum is surprised to learn there's someone in the neighborhood even more ruthless than himself. He spots a strange figure in dark clothing among the trees and gives chase, thinking this must be the culprit. Still, no matter how hard he tries, Kibum fails to catch the suspicious person. The dark figure in the cap and mask was Hee-ju. She continues her investigation and gathers evidence, hoping the criminal will face the punishment he deserves. We learn that the man whose life Hee-ju has taken was her mother's new husband. However, the police once again suspect Kibum of the crime, and once again, they have no evidence. Meanwhile, the second killer makes his way into Kibum's hotel room. He picks the lock, takes a knife in hand, and approaches the bed. But Kibum isn't there. He's in the bathroom. Armed with a knife identical to his attacker's, Kibum manages to injure the intruder, even through the door. Detective Dae-young enters the hotel room. The second killer is hiding behind the door. Sensing someone at his back, the detective grabs Kai-bum, but the intruder has already slipped away. Hee-ju goes to visit her mother. The apartment door is open, so the girl steps inside and finds that her mother has cut her own life short. We learn the woman had left the family when Hee-ju was still a small child. Ki-bum is eating dinner at a local cafe. Dae-young shows up, sprinkles hot pepper over Ki-bum's food, steals his sushi, then flips the table and raises a chair to strike the criminal. Fellow officers pull the detective away. Even outside, Dae-young keeps assaulting Ki-bum, who only taunts and laughs at the detective in return. Hee-ju keeps piecing the case together. There are two killers. They use identical knives, yet their methods are different. Back in his room, Ki-bum stitches up his wounds and mutters the name Min-soo once again. Dae-young studies Ki-bum's call history. He's been calling numerous people named Young Min-soo. As it happens, Young Min-soo was the key informant in Ki-bum's case. 15 years ago, it was Min-soo who provided decisive evidence of Ki-bum's guilt. He convinced the jury that Ki-bum had murdered his unfaithful girlfriend. Dae-young orders the police to place Young Min-soo under surveillance and ensure his protection. Meanwhile, Hee-ju goes to a pet store and buys a large dog leash. She also takes a pile of empty glass bottles to a deserted area. Back in his hotel room, Kai-bum finds a sheet of paper on the bed listing Young Min-soo's personal information. He assumes Detective Dae-young left it, but in truth, it was Hee-ju. Ki-bum tracks Min-soo down and asks him one question: why? It turns out they were best friends 15 years ago, until they both fell for the same girl and became bitter enemies. At first, they committed crimes together, but eventually went their separate ways. Now Ki-bum swears he'll make Min-soo pay for his betrayal. Min-soo returns home to find the floor covered in shattered glass. Hee-ju sits in the corner of the room. The man falls onto the glass, and Hee-ju walks toward him, calmly watching as he bleeds out. Ki-bum lies in bed with a satisfied smile, but a few moments later, he gets up and looks at the bed with growing unease. He lifts the blanket and finds a body wrapped in plastic, with a dog collar around its neck. It's Min-soo. Hee-ju suddenly appears behind Kai-bum and lunges at him. She disables him with a blade, fastens another collar around his neck, and cuts off his oxygen supply until he passes out. Soon after, Detective Dae-young bursts into Ki-bum's room with a team of officers and finds Young Min-soo's body wrapped in plastic on the bed. Wounded, Ki-bum has already fled. The police search the building and find an injured young man and woman in one of the rooms. An ambulance rushes them to the hospital. Dae-young flips over Ki-bum's bed and discovers another corpse hidden underneath. He realizes Kai-bum had disguised himself as someone else to escape. The man in the ambulance is Kai-bum. He gets rid of the escorting officer, then kills the injured girl, and escapes. The police chief is furious. He beats his subordinates and demands they find Ki-bum immediately. Hee-ju buys a ticket to a symphony orchestra concert and says that by the time of the premiere, Kai-bum must already be behind bars. Kai-bum is furious. Some girl took away his victim. He sees that the reward for his capture is 60 million won. The police discover that Young Min-soo was already dead before his body ended up in Ki-bum's apartment, which means he's not the killer. Hee-ju is knitting a pink scarf when she notices a newspaper with an article about Ki-bum. The man declares to the entire country that he's innocent. He has an alibi for every crime. Hee-ju tries to comfort a frustrated Dae-young. So, 15 years ago, Ki-bum and Min-soo took the lives of 12 people. Now, 6 more are dead. 2 near the hotel, 2 in the ambulance, Min-soo, and an unidentified man found during a morning jog. Ki-bum realizes that the last 2 murders were committed by the same girl who attacked him in the hotel room. Ki-bum heads to an internet cafe and gets into a fight with the manager. The man recognizes him as the wanted criminal and immediately calls the police. While the officers are on their way, Ki-bum manages to uncover a connection between the man killed during the jog, his wife, Detective Nam Il-hee, and his young daughter, Hee-ju. Now he knows who attacked him. Detective Dae-young and his partner arrive at the internet cafe. The detective orders all visitors to face the wall. The people obey the police command, but Ki-bum manages to incite panic and even injure someone in the process. Dae-young lunges at the criminal, and a fight breaks out between them. Ki-bum manages to escape, take the second cop hostage, steal a police car, and disappear before Dae-young can catch him. All available officers in the city are mobilized to capture the dangerous criminal. Even the traffic police join the pursuit. Ki-bum drives to the local police station, where Hee-ju works. The girl notices him and realizes he's come for her. A naive officer on duty mistakes Ki-bum for their new colleague and immediately gives him all of Hee-ju's personal information. The girl goes to a pet shop and buys another dog leash. She returns to her apartment and waits for Ki-bum. Soon the criminal really does arrive and rings her doorbell. The girl opens the door and they stab each other simultaneously, after which they both run outside. Ki-bum chases Hee-ju through the street. While police officers rush toward her home, the main characters race through the park. Ki-bum catches up with Hee-ju on a bridge and knocks her to the ground. The girl manages to wound him and escape again. Yet, Ki-bum catches up to her once more and tries to drown her in a pond. Hee-ju fights back with a stone, makes it to the shore, and limps toward her favorite childhood swing. As the girl sits swinging, the wounded Ki-bum approaches her. Hee-ju takes off her pink scarf, and we see she's wearing the collar. The protagonist says she's going to punish both herself and Ki-bum. She swings higher and higher, fastens her leash to the top bar, and jumps off the seat. Ki-bum freezes in shock, horror, and disbelief. At that moment, the police arrive in the park and arrest him. They extract Hee-ju from the noose, but it's already too late. The girl shows no signs of life. Ki-bum is sentenced to the ultimate punishment, the death penalty.